Mounting this picture is an enormous task. You had an army of people working with you.
This is one of those stories that we all relate to. We all grow up with. We all want to be King Arthur.
If this be our destiny, then so be it.
Sort of ideas I think we have about King Arthur come from this sort of very romantic story we have in our heads.
My father told me great tales of you.
We haven't actually seen a King Arthur film set at this particular period.
We're trying to make a gritty, real film set in the Roman era, and I think we've succeeded in that.
There's a theory that says a group of Sarmatian warriors were stationed as part of the Roman legions along Hadrian's Wall. These men were led by a centurion named Lucius Artorius Castus. Artorius being the Latin, of course, for Arthur.
I'm Arthur Castus, commander of the Sarmatian Knights sent by Bishop Germanus of Rome.
David Franzoni, who wrote Gladiator, came in and pitched us this idea of the origins of the King Arthur legend.
If this be our destiny, then so be it. But let history remember that as free men, we chose to make it so.
I was always intrigued by the Arthurian myth. Everyone knows who King Arthur is, but no one really knows where he came from.
He's very human. There's no magic. The power is in the man more than the sword. You don't just become a king by wielding a sword. You have to earn it. And this is what the movie's about. Him earning the right to be king.
Make it big. Let me see weapons in the air, ready to fight.
All right, great.
The most important thing Antoine brings is a realism and grittiness to the piece. He's so perfect for this, and he's brought so much unbelievable stuff to this.
You know, I've been following Antoine's career since he did video for me for Dangerous Minds. He did the Coolio video, and that's how I really first started working with him. It's how talented he was.
Jerry's like the guy that keeps his eye on like the young talent, and then when he thinks you're good enough, he kind of plucks you, and brings you to life.
Once he slams you down, you get set, because I want to see him.
Antoine's pretty amazing. Dealing with this enormity of the production, God's got an amazing task in his hands.
Okay, come on, let's go back to one, just for this angle right here.
Jerry would come over, he'd just like, you're doing great, just keep going. He's like a general.
But I think the main thing that Antoine brings to the table is he allows you to bring what you want to the character. He's interested in what you have to offer. He's just taking the best of everybody's ideas.
It would be good for you to mark my face, Saxon. It will be the last thing you see on this earth.
I wanted to get a leading man who had the presence and power and grace to pull it off. I met Clive, and I couldn't get him out of my head. He was King Arthur. He's a bit of a mystery, and that's what we wanted for Arthur as well.
The thing that separates him has always got his eye on the bigger picture. He can't help himself. If there's unfairness, he feels it's his responsibility to intervene.
Help this man. Help him!
Clive's a very smart actor. That's what makes a great king, a very smart man who's also a great warrior.
King Arthur!
We've only ever seen Guinevere as the damsel in distress. My Guinevere's not like that.
When we hired Keira Knightley for Pirates, she was 17 years old. She's now 18. We showed Antoine film and tape of her. He fell in love with her.
When you meet her, she's such a tough, pretty, smart teenager. And then when you put her on film, this woman just like explodes onto the screen.
I belong to this land.
She starts off as being the delicate, beautiful woman being rescued, and then you discover, man, she's as tough as a knight, she can fight.
Your hands seem to be better.
It took us forever to find Lancelot, and then we met Yoan, and I was just like, he's it. He's got this boyish charm about him. He's like this kid in a way, but he's got a darker side as well.
I think Lancelot is the voice of reason. Lancelot believes in the earth and what he can touch, what he can feel, or what he can kill. He loves Arthur as a friend, and however much he disagrees with his actions, he has to go along as a friend.
Ireland worked out for a lot of different reasons because it's lush and it's big and it's dark most of the time. And I think you have to feel it too. You need to be in European soil. The wall had to be real. I had to be able to get up on the wall and film. I had a battle scene at the end that I wanted people fighting on the wall.
This huge expansive wall, which is Hadrian's Wall, was built to keep out the marauding barbarian Picts or Woads who otherwise were pouring down into the south. It stretches all the way across this neck of land, severing the northern part of the island from the rest of it.
We took measurements of the stones and the things they actually used when they built the wall, and we made our molds the exact same size.
When you build this sort of huge set, you are facing quite a lot of issues. The wall took 4 months and a half to be built. The crew was more or less 250 person. It was the main set of the movie, so it was a very big construction.
Antoine, when he used his helicopter shots, you could see the scope of this wall. This is not a lot of digital work on this wall. This is a real wall that we built out in this field in Ireland.
Most of the movie and most of the sets was, historically speaking, very accurate. The design for the round table came to an idea of mixing Roman architecture and King Arthur myth.
We have been here now for about 6 months, concentrating on all the dressing for the Roman army, the battle standards, battle dragons, that type of thing. Antoine seems to like a lot of cameras on set. Everything has to be able to be shot from any angle, from any distance as well.
Between the Woads, Saxons, Romans, we must have made about 300 blades, 750 spears, and probably 300 axes in total. They must have made about 10 different prototypes of Excalibur. The Excalibur sword itself is quite concept looking, read vertically from the bottom to the top. Is defender of the land.
Antoine, the feeling he gave us was that he wanted strong, he wanted brutal. I just thought we should go for blood and guts. And I, assured him that they would be filthy and that we would really, really make it look as original as we could. Leather.
Penny Rose did Pirates of the Caribbean. She designed all those great pirates, and she has such a creative flair, yet she also has the practicality of knowing that you have actors in these suits. They have to be light, they have to move, they have to fight, so you have to have the stuff that's designed so they can use movement and not get exhausted every time they lift the sword up.
Think, okay, we're about to play the Knights of the Round Table and you expect to be all sort of decked out and gallant. And here I am kind of looking a little bit feral, and I like it.
It's a show which has required virtually everything to be made. I've got peasants, I've got servants, I've got Saxons, I've got Woads, I've got Romans, I've got knights and knight servants. I've got 2,000 to 2,500 costumes in all. It's big, it's very big.
Had 2 weeks of solid training, horse riding, learning the choreography of the fights, and obviously getting to know each other as a bunch of guys.
We're doing an awful lot of our own stunts that would normally be done by riding doubles or action doubles. We're throwing ourselves into the mix. Arthur's a brilliant fighter. People talk about this incredible sword. But it's not a magic sword. It's the way he uses the sword that's more important. The guy is a pretty incredible fighter, and that's his chosen, trusted weapon.
Lancelot's weapons of choice are his 2 swords. He draws them out like this, and he's ambidextrous. He can fight with both swords at the same time, and of course can kill twice as many people.
Antoine wanted a different feel to each man's fighting. He gave us characters for all of them that we tried to bring out with the weapons.
It took weeks and weeks of practice on how each battle was designed as far as the sword play is concerned. It's very dangerous.
You have to be choreographed and you have to be very precise or you will kill somebody. It's not only about waving swords. It's like doing a 3-minute heavyweight boxing round, and you have to do it maybe 10 times in a day. And I'm chain smoking and I'm middle-aged and I'm not supposed to do things like this.
Women did fight on equal standing with men. That's a historical fact. It makes the character a lot stronger because she is a warrior and she does have something to fight for.
Keira Knightley. All of the action scenes, she did them all herself.
Sword fight, archery, axe fight, knife fight, a bit of garroting, which is particular fun, I have to say, and a lot of running about.
The most important thing for me in preparing for the film was horse riding. I'd done very little horse riding. Key thing was to feel comfortable and look like you know what you're doing on a horse.
The major thing with this is that it's all the actors doing all the riding.
Probably 75% of the film I'm on the horse, and I understand now why John Wayne walks like he did.
The horse is dictating the rhythm of the scene often, and it's very hard to be precise.
The difficulty really is knowing that you have to hit this certain mark and you're trying to act and remember your lines and look a certain way and try to look cool at the same time.
Sorry, can we cut it?
Your legs are going, like kicking the horse and trying to get into position.
What the horse does is what you're dealing with, as well as doing the dialogue. I resisted that. I was finishing up at Anton. I didn't do what I wanted to do in that scene. And he would say, no, just come and look, see the playback. And in the playback, it's part of the scene. What the horse is doing is key to what the scene is.
What are you fighting for?
Y tus tráilers. Visita mi canal.
Cause beyond Rome's or your understanding.
For the actors, it's the most amazing thing. I was asking the world of them. I was asking them to learn how to ride horses, how to fight on a horse, to know how to shoot a bow and arrow from a horse. I was asking them to learn how to fight with swords, to be able to go from beginning to the end of an entire fight and know every move. I was asking them to be in enough shape for me not to have to stop filming, and I was asking them to stay focused on their acting at the same time, and they did it.
We have some 400-odd extras that have never seen a shield or spear before. They will replicate a Saxon military unit.
7, 8, 9, 10. Stop!
All right, look to the right and line up on your flag, gentlemen.
It's an extensive period of basic drilling. Basically, I've just taken a military formation and put it in a working system for these civilians. We've done some very careful research on Saxon battle tactics, and we try to replicate as closely as we possibly can.
You guys over here, move on!
They're working with shields, they're working with spears. I've got archery training going on. We've selected 2 groups of reenactors to learn our sword techniques. To have 400 people who are supposed to be hardcore warriors not look like hardcore warriors destroys the value of the production.
Hi, Mom. I'm a star.
Company commanders, move them out, reverse order, and let's start over again.
Harry brings a discipline to the set. Harry had these guys marching frontwards, backwards, sideways.
Okay, Alpha Platoon, forward, march!
We had battle cries for all our Saxon invaders, and we found some wonderful things like Slachton Fiand.
Slachton Fiand!
We were actually 7 nights here facing 1,000 extras dressed up like Saxons. Our hearts start beating as the actors. It becomes kind of real when you're standing there.
When you make an epic story like King Arthur, you got to show the epic battles. Antoine figured out how he wanted to shoot it. He based it on one of the great battles in history of the Romans, how they took pig fat, created all this smoke and fire to confuse the enemy so the enemy couldn't see. Slobomir, our cinematographer, is somebody that we used on Black Hawk Down, and he's a proponent of using a lot of cameras, capturing reality.
We got 14 cameras. Sometimes it's very hard to find, the right position for so many cameras.
We had cameras on sticks, cameras in the forest, cameras on horses.
Cameras attached to swords and attached to the belly and the helmet of the combatants. You're actually in the battle.
You never would know how big and overwhelming a film like this can be until you do it. No matter what people say. Till you stand out there and look at 800 to 1,000 people with swords and bow and arrows and horses thundering around and smoke and fire.
Action all around, action!
Every time I said action, I was praying no one got trampled by a horse or one of the guys fell off or anything would happen. And it's one of those scenes where you go, I asked for this.
Visual effects are really used in this film in order to expand the scope of Arthur and his knights. The world that they live in is a very fantastical place, and we really need to bring the epic scale and grandeur, all of that which perhaps doesn't exist in England or in Ireland in real life. As we were filming in Ireland in the middle of August, nothing was frozen, and so really we knew from the beginning that that scene was totally going to be visual effects. Our job is really to go in and completely create the environment from the ice that they're standing on through to the mountains and snow-capped peaks.
There's an entire battle that takes place on this frozen lake. There's going to be almost 300 shots that will require either a matte painting or 3D CG background. This is a wide shot. My job is to replace this with a much more threatening and snow-filled environment. Completely fabricated but believable layout. People would think that this was a real location.
Towards the end of the sequence, the ice starts cracking. They get the Saxons, they trap them. And what we're doing is some shots where it's underwater looking up at the ice that's above. And we'll see the Saxons walking across and see it cracking.
Doing a lot of CG armies, so we can have thousands and thousands of CG Saxons.
Because you have so many characters that you have to put into the scene, so many soldiers, we couldn't hand animate each one, so we have software that will come up with that animation for us.
We're just another tool in the director's palette. We can do things in a different way.
I thought it was sort of an interesting idea to tell the King Arthur story minus the myth, as it were. But at the same time, I suddenly realized as soon as you put the music in, it mythologized the characters. It's not rock and roll, but at the same time, one of the things I've been trying to do is make Arthur and his knights more like a sort of a biker gang. They're not quite as squeaky clean as you expect them normally.
Are you from Rome?
From hell. Everything should evolve around Arthur as the apex of the characters, sort of based on a tiny little motif, three-note motif. Everybody gets handed those three notes at one point or the other, in different disguises, as it were. And of course, we have a love theme, and I got Moya Brennan in from Clannad to come and sing. She's got such a great voice. You just want to enhance the emotion, really. You want to put a framework around the scenes that gives them some sort of a flow and a structure, and hope something informs the characters in some good way.
I hope people leave the cinema with a sense of that they've seen classic epic film.
It's about a guy traveling on a journey. He becomes a man of his land and a man of his people.
There's a warrior in all of us. There's a king in all of us. You have to choose your destiny, choose your fate.
The scope of it, the size of the battles, the nobility of the characters, and the heart of the characters. It's an epic film.